So whether this is for digital or a physical publication, fonts are going to make or break your design. So here are 10 fonts, 5 sans serif, 5 serif, that have treated me very well throughout the years that I'm willing to share it with you guys. So hopefully by the end of this, you guys will have some new tools in your tool chest in terms of fonts to really spice up your design. Alright, we're starting off with the absolute goat of sans serif fonts, and that's going to be Helvetica, but we're going to talk about Helvetica Neue, which is kind of the new derivative of the classic Helvetica, and really this typeface embodies neutrality and perfection, and it's probably one of the most used fonts in the world. Now this font does shine in things like corporate designs, fashion magazines, minimalist layouts, and user interfaces, and whenever clarity and balance is the key, that's kind of where you go and choose Helvetica. And how I like to think of this font is it's basically a catch-all font. Whenever you're trying to look for a font that you like to use that's nice, neutral, elegant, and clean, Helvetica is the way to go. Also, when you are trying to do something that has very engaging elements such as big images, bold videos, animations, this font kind of fades to the background really nicely while also keeping everything nice, tidy, clean, and modern. So amazing font. We're going to use this as the baseline to compare all the other fonts that I'm going to be introducing you to that is in the sans serif family. So next one's going to be Lato, and for those of you that have been following this channel, you know that I love Lato a lot. I basically use it for every single layout. I'll just spam it out all the time, but really I like it because it's a nice and warm design for a font, and it really gives that nice clean look. If you're looking for a more warm and approachable but super clean font, I would probably go with Lato. I think it's very good for both web, print. It's great for body text, feature articles, as well as just clean editorial designs. And I think if you want a modern friendly tone and you're doing something for a lifestyle magazine or something that's, you know, just very close to everyday life and lifestyle, I would say that this is a great font for you to use. So if we compare Lato to Helvetica, I would say that Lato is a lot more warm and friendly, whereas Helvetica is more neutral and precise. The next one is also one that I spam on the channel quite a bit, and it's going to be Futura. Futura is a classic, very Bauhausy. There's a lot of very strong shapes. It really makes a statement, and that's why it's good for something like a title or something like a bold headline, magazine covers, poll quotes, minimalist layouts. These are great because of just how bold this font is, and just really makes a statement is where I would use it. Now, I would say that this font is perfect for things that are more arts-based, so things like architecture, things like arts magazines, where you want the font to not really fade into the background, but also have its own character on the page. So I think of Futura as timeless minimalism. It's bold, it's sleek, and it also keeps the page super clean. Taking a look at this and how it compares to our Helvetica, you can see that it's a lot more bold, there's a lot more geometric, and it's a lot more architectural. Whereas Helvetica is more balanced as well as utilitarian. So I think for creatives like us, Futura is a great bold font that we want to put into our letterheads as well as their designs. Okay, so the next one is going to be Gotham, and it's designed in the early 2000s, and basically it's a combination of geometric precision as well as human warmth. It feels strong, confident, and distinctly modern. And I think in things like magazines, in things like business or lifestyle publications, as well as things like campaigns for political reasons or other reasons, it really shines. And I think that's because it has that personable touch. Whereas some other fonts may feel very corporate and cold, this one has a nice curvature to it that has a nice warmth touch, but not too much. It just screams, hey, trust me, I'm confident in what I'm doing. So like I was just saying, Gotham versus Helvetica, I think Gotham is a little bit more confident and a little bit more friendly, whereas Helvetica is kind of neutral, calm, very objective. So for things like headlines, covers, brand statements, I would say Gotham would be a great choice. Alright, next is Proxima Nova, one of the more infamous digital fonts. I think of this one as something that if you want to bridge the space between digital and print, this is the one you use. It's probably one of the most popular fonts for digital publication. I think it's a perfect blend of geometric and human qualities. It feels clean, but it's not cold. And I think if you have something like a digital magazine that exists both online as well as in print, this is a great font to use. And my personal take is that it's a smart, balanced, and clean and witty font that's optimized for both web as well as printed design. If we take a look at Proxima Nova versus our Helvetica, you can see that Proxima Nova is more modern, it's more digital, whereas Helvetica feels timeless and analog. Proxima Nova bridges print and web, whereas Helvetica anchors tradition. Hey guys, quick interruption. If you guys enjoyed this video and learning something, I would really appreciate it if you can like and subscribe. I see my percentage subscribed and I have to cry myself to sleep some night, so please save me from that. And if you guys have time, check out our website where we have a great amount of design resources that you can check out for free. So check that out at lyhstudio.com, also link in the description below. Let's get back straight into the video. Okay, so moving on to our serif fonts. These are the ones that have a little tail on them. And for our anchoring font, we're gonna use Times New Roman. This is an absolute classic. I bet you guys, when you're in middle school or high school or whatever, your teacher is like, please use Times New Roman 12. And that's not without a reason. It's one of the most legible and clear fonts that you can use for long paragraphs, or if you're trying to write something that's a little bit lengthy. Great, absolutely great body font. So it was originally designed for the Times newspaper in London, and it's probably one of the most recognizable and readable typefaces in history. So I would like to think of this as a nice workhorse font that is really great if you want the information to really come through. Maybe the page isn't so much about the art or the image or the video. You want information to be conveyed through text. This is a great one. People understand. People will be able to read everything super clearly. Okay, let's talk Caslon. Caslon, I would say, is another catch-all font if you're looking to use something in the serif family. And I think it's warm, it's trustworthy, it's beautifully legible with just enough texture to feel printed and real. I would say it's a little bit traditional, but refined traditional. It's actually used for a lot of essays, magazines, editorial and cultural features, as well as print-heavy magazines, and it's used by things like the New Yorker. And I would say the vibe of this is you're smart, you're grounded, and you're very credible. So if we go ahead and compare Caslon to our Times New Roman, you can see that Caslon is a little bit more classic and authoritative, whereas Times New Roman is a tiny bit more modern and efficient. I would say that Caslon has character, whereas Times New Roman has discipline. Alright, next one we're gonna roll into is Garamond, and you can really think of Garamond as a century-old typeface with timeless grace, and it's really about readable and long-form storytelling. So I like to think of this as kind of like an older but really graceful, really elegant font. It's traditional, yet it's bold. I think it's really good for things like publications that value tradition and sophistication. You can think of academic journals or even things like National Geographic. I think it's one of the fonts that will absolutely never go out of style. So if you're trying to use something that's more traditional, but also give it a nice clean feel, I would use something like Garamond. If we compare it to our Times New Roman, you can see that Garamond is a little bit smoother, it's more organic, and a little bit more historic, whereas Times New Roman feels a little bit more mechanical. I would say that Garamond invites reading a tiny bit more, whereas Times New Roman delivers information. Okay, now we're rolling ourselves into Georgia, not the country, not the state, but the font. I would say Georgia is one of the most legible online reading fonts and one of the most trusted serif fonts ever made. I would say that it's really good in things like editorial features, news websites, as well as online magazines where there's a bunch of dense text. So I would say this is a little bit of a warmer serif font. It's a little bit more personal. It's got a little bit more friendly curves, and it's perfect for digital publishing, things online when you're staring at a screen or staring at it all day long. And I would say compared to something like Times New Roman, it's a little bit more approachable and screen optimized, whereas Times New Roman, you always find it a little bit dense and more print oriented. And again, I would say that Georgia is more like you're reading something comfortably, whereas Times New Roman, you're trying to read something more efficiently. Saving the best for last, I think. Let's talk about Didot. I think Didot is just pure elegance and high fashion. It's got sharp contrast, thin serifs, and it just exudes luxury. So I would use this for things like magazine covers, fashion features, and just luxury in general. You can't really go wrong with Didot. So Didot is something that's very bold and elegant, and in that same vein, I probably would caution using it in something like body text. It's really for a statement. It's for something that you put on the page. You want the viewer's eyes to go there first. I think Didot is luxurious. It's got very high contrast, and Times New Roman is just practical and very restrained. Didot has that seduction factor, whereas Times New Roman is more for informing somebody of information. So here is a graph of everything that I've been talking about. If you guys need help selecting something, this is where you would pause and just take a look at this. Otherwise, if you have a font that you really think I should have featured, let me know what it is down in the comment below. But if you learned anything new, please don't hesitate to leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.